This is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
Yes, it's the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio. What's up, nerds? ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. Breaking news. Oh, it's the worst kind of Woj bomb. I'll tell you about it in a matter of moments. It's not good. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. How about those Knicks, huh? I'll tell you what I thought about their pick coming up. Be a part of Max Kellerman Nation on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed / call-in line is what we're calling it. Okay. I don't know why we would put that in parentheses like that, but Raj makes certain choices. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper. The college football season is heating up, and so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. This is such bad news. I don't even want to deliver it. Why should people associate me with this kind of news? Raj, go ahead. Tell the people what the news is.
Well, if I have to be the bearer of bad news, I'll do it, Max. We got a Woj bomb. We got a tweet moments before the show started. Klay Thompson is out for the season with a torn Achilles, as we all feared.
Oh, boo, Raj, boo. Oh, does everyone associating that awful news with Raj? Look on ESPN Plus at that picture of Raj. Show it again. When you think Klay Thompson and torn Achilles, think of this image. If you could see it on ESPN Plus. Right there. Oh, what a bearer of bad news. Oh, terrible, Raj. Terrible. Boo. This is such a nightmare. I mean, Klay Thompson, one of the toughest players in the league. You know, you grew up with a daddy who played in the league, was a former number 1 overall pick in Michael Thompson. A two-time, 20-12 guy in Portland, a two-time NBA champion, backing up Kareem on the Lakers. So you think he grows up with a silver spoon, right? Like, how tough a player is he going to be? Tough as nails. That dude ripped up his leg and didn't want to come out of a finals game. And I agree, had Klay stayed in that game, maybe they beat Toronto even without KD. I thought that the Raptors would win, but I have to admit, when Klay gets hot, and he was hot, it's impossible. Do you understand Klay Thompson was capable of getting hotter than any player in the history of basketball? If someone said, who's the player who, like they called Vinny the Microwave Johnson, right, because it could heat up off the bench right away. But if you said, which player could get hotter than any player who ever lived, the answer is Klay Thompson. Just objectively. You understand? Like, Klay had, the fewest dribbles per point ever by a lot, right? Klay Thompson once scored 26 points in a quarter. And it was his second highest total in a quarter that season. Imagine that. You scored 26, not in a game, in a quarter, not in a half, in a quarter. And it's not even your best scoring quarter of the season because he scored 37 in another quarter that year, which is, of course, the all-time record. He could shoot. Listen, Klay could get to spots that a 3-and-D guy usually isn't able to get to. He was a 3-and-D plus in the sense that he could also handle and he could pass. It's not what you wanted him doing, but he could do it. And he could shoot the lights out and really defend at 6'7". What a tragedy in Achilles. Very difficult to come back from. He was already coming back from a catastrophic injury. That's everyone just thought, oh, yeah, an ACL, you'll get back. Not necessarily. What Klay had, a lot of people never are the same from. But everyone was thinking, at least it's not an Achilles. Because even I was here cautioning everyone, hey, it's not an Achilles, but it's no walk in the park. He maybe comes back, maybe doesn't from this as the same guy. But it is true, at least it's not an Achilles, and now it's also an Achilles. Oh, I'm rooting for Klay, unlike I've rooted for many athletes in the past. I'm rooting for this guy so hard. And, Michael Thompson, being a colleague at ESPN and a guy I've done radio with many times, because it's his son, I've been watching Klay since Klay was, a kid, since he's in college. Oof, this is tough. And for the Warriors, I got to tell you, The number 2 pick, you go Wiseman. If you have this news already, think about this. I was debating this with Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith on the air today. I understand that Steve Kerr and the Warriors don't always have to be the same kind of team. They don't have to be the hot shooting team, right? The three-point shooting team. I understand that. You don't have to be that. You can win with great athletes and scorers and defenders and all that stuff. And I'm sure Kerr can coach that up. I have no doubt he can. But isn't there a requisite amount of shooting you need in the NBA nowadays? Don't you need some shooting? Steph Curry's the greatest shooter of all time. Considering his handles, he's a mobile artillery unit. He's Steve Nash plus. He's Steve Nash 2.0 because, Steve Nash never picked up the dribble. Steph got better handles, and he doesn't dribble that much, right? And he's a better shooter from a longer distance. But who else shoots on that team now? I don't mean like really think about it. You went from a situation with the greatest shooting backcourt ever, right? Steph and Klay. And because of the space that they create, not all three-point shots are created equal. If you shoot from 5, 10 feet behind the arc, that's tougher for defenses to recover from, to rotate. And so you have guys like Draymond Green shooting wide open threes because the defense is late getting over. Well, even so, the best Draymond Green shot was 38%, and that was in the so-called death lineup. When you could play Draymond, it wasn't about small ball. It was about 5 guys who could shoot and play with skills of smaller players. If you could play small ball, so-called small ball, with 7-footers, you'd rather do that, right? But usually it's harder to find those kind of skills in taller players. So Draymond allowed them to play 5 out. No one's in the paint. All 5 are spread out because he could knock down threes. But that hasn't been the case in recent years. In his best seasons, with Klay and Steph shooting from a million miles away, Draymond shot 38%. Otherwise, he's a subpar three-point shooter. Subpar. Now, he's Steph's pick-and-roll partner, and that's really important. If you really want to talk about what the Warriors are about, as much as I love Klay, it's really Steph and Draymond because Draymond's the pick-and-roll partner who can defend and do all those things. But his three-point shot's been off to the point where it's not really the same kind of team it used to be, and that's with Steph and Klay. And there's no Kevin Durant, but what do they have now? They got Steph, the greatest shooter ever. Then they got Wiggins, a subpar shooter. Who else is going to get real minutes? Wiseman is not a shooter. Who else? Pascal is not a shooter. Who else they got? Draymond is not a shooter. Stop me when you hear a guy getting real minutes who can shoot the ball at all. Wiggins is passable, but he's not a good shooter. He shoots below league average from 3, and he's your second best shooter in the starting 5? Your second best shooter in the starting 5 is below league average, and the 3 other guys can't shoot? That's bad news. I mean, I understand you don't have to win the way they used to, but you got to be able to shoot. That's requisite shooting, right? If Wiseman is DeAndre Jordan plus, which is what you're hoping, right? And I think there's a good chance he can be. That's a nice player. But really, that's a guy you're hoping can eventually replace Draymond Green as a bigger version of that kind of guy, and hopefully he can develop a shot. Right now, there's a little redundancy there with Wiseman and Draymond. And what this really tells me is there were no takers for a Wiseman and I'm sure the Warriors. We had Joe Lacob on First Take the other day, and he was he was upping, of course, Wiggins, who were big 4 or whatever, and the number 2 pick. I'm sorry, you can't tell me the Golden State Warriors didn't try to package that for someone actually really good who could help them right now, and they were clearly, in my view, unsuccessful doing it. You wouldn't be doing your due diligence if you didn't try to bring in an actual star player to pair with Steph and Klay and Dre. But not only were they unable to do that, now they don't have Klay. And look, I guess I liked Halliburton a lot because I think, and others have said this, he has the highest floor of anyone in the draft, right? He's going to be at least okay. He's like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a tall combo backcourt player who's built like he can defend eventually and can run the point or play next to a point guard, but just basically a real good combo backcourt player with a funky-looking shot but a repeatable delivery, a guy who can knock down outside shots, high basketball IQ, all that stuff. But maybe they look at him and go, he's not a star, and at least Wiseman has a chance to be a star. I get that. But given what the team needs right now, Warriors are a mess. Now, I know because of the 9th and a 10th play-in game, 9th and 10th seed play-in game, they have a chance to make the playoffs. You need one of the 10 best records out of 15 teams. It's ridiculous in the NBA. You have a 2/3 chance to have a shot at the playoffs after the regular season is over. It's 2 out of 3. You're either in the playoffs or a shot at the playoffs when the regular season ends. And by the way, if you have a play-in game, that is a playoff. Because, the season's over and you're still playing basketball. Or rather, it's the postseason. So 2 out of 3 teams make the postseason this year. The Warriors will probably, you would think, make the postseason in that sense. But, what are they going to do when they get there? Nothing. They got to make some moves. Meantime, you see what Daryl Morey did? Did you see what Daryl Morey did? Daryl Morey just got out of the Al Horford deal in Philly, brought in Seth Curry, who can shoot the lights out, and Danny Green, who's still a solid 25-minute-a-game 3-and-D guy and part of a championship team, by the way, in multiple towns. He's now won championships in 3 different cities. You think that's coincidence that teams who have him just win? That was Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. Is Greg Anthony there yet, Raj? NBA TV and TNT analyst Greg Anthony joins me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, Greg?
Hey, Max, how are you, my man?
Not as good as you. Not as good as you. I didn't just have a son drafted in the top 15 in the NBA. How does Proud Papa feel today?
Oh, Proud Papa feels great. I'm really happy for him. An emotional night, as most who saw that got to watch it play out. But it's been and I speak, I'm sure, for most of the country, it's been a crazy year with all that's happened. With the pandemic, and then obviously for us as a family with what he had to go through this past season. But, he stayed positive. He continued to work and never lost his faith, and he got rewarded in what I think is going to be a great situation for him in Orlando, a playoff team that has a need of which I think he'll have an opportunity to fill this upcoming season.
What is the need, do you think? What kind of player are they getting in your son?
Well, Cole is what I'd call a lead guard, a guy that can, obviously he can play with the ball or off the ball. He can score it. He's got an NBA skill set in terms of his ability to play in space, create his own shot, run the pick and roll. He's a terrific rebounder. He's a better all-around player than maybe he got the opportunity to show. We just – at Carolina this past season, we just had it was a Murphy's Law year, and everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. And, it's documented about his injuries, but we lost a lot of guys to injury last season. And, he had never played on a team that struggled like that and did not handle it well, and that's on him, and he had to learn from it. But he's had, 8 months or so to revamp and figure out how to improve. And so I think if people have followed him and seen him prior to that year, you got to see all the things he could do well, especially when he played with talent. And what I try to remind people, he was a member of the USA basketball team that won the gold medal, and he got to play with a lot of really good players. And so when you do that, you were talking earlier, I was listening to your show a little bit about Golden State, and one of the things that made Golden State so special and so hard to guard is not just that those guys were all great shooters, but those guys are all really good without the basketball. They could all space it. They could all play without it. And so their shot quality was every bit as important as their ability to make shots, meaning they didn't have to just go out and individually create a lot of offense. Their offense could create shots for them because of their IQ. And that's what happens when you play on really good teams. You just saw that play out in the finals with the LA Lakers. It's the shot quality because of the level of talent of an AD and a LeBron. You're not asking guys to create shots that they're not comfortable creating. They can just shoot shots they're capable of making. And so when you play with better players, that tends to be the case. And I think for him, going into that young team, Steve Clifford's a terrific coach. I think he'll have a chance to play well. He's going to have some growing pains. He's going to have to improve. But I think it's honestly probably about as good a situation as he could have asked for in this past draft.
Greg Anthony, Knicks point guard in my youth. His son, Cole Anthony, just gets drafted by the Orlando Magic 15th. And he's joining a playoff team, as you said, Greg, where there's a need. And I want to move on to other topics, but quickly, I was at this level, especially with young players, you wonder how well, in this NBA especially, how well will they be able to shoot it? And I mean from three, right? Because that's such a big part of the game nowadays. And I look at your son, he takes a bunch of threes, he hits them at about 35%. So then you look at the free throw percentage, because that'll tell you what kind of shooter he can be, and 75% from the line. It's sort of on the fence. Like, I don't see indications that he's going to be a knockdown shooter, nor do I see indications that he couldn't become one. What about, and I look at that team and Aaron Gordon, like those kind of players where I look at them and go, if they could just shoot it a little better. They do so many other things. Well, if they could shoot it a little better, they'd be stars. This team could get to the next level. What about your son and his shot and how that translates in the NBA?
Listen, last year, there's a reason he ended up going 15th in this draft, is because he had as bad a year as was possibly imaginable for him. Now, if you watched him last year and you based it solely on last year, then your concerns would be warranted. But if you go and look at what he's done his entire life, he's been around a 90% free throw shooter, a 40% three-point shooter, and he's been a terrific finisher at the rim. Now, he did none of that this past year, and so it wasn't 22 games. He had a torn meniscus. He probably played 5 games healthy. He also had mono, which we didn't talk about and we didn't put out there, because it's not about making excuses. Bottom line is, he didn't have a good year. He'll tell you that. But again, if the one advantage young players have today that our era and the era you grew up watching didn't have, his whole competitive life, he's only played against the top kids in the country. He didn't build his reputation on playing guys who weren't high-level athletes and high-level players. All the guys that we've seen and were drafted and been drafted the last few years, that's who he's been playing against at the highest level. So,
yeah, Orlando could have a steal here at 15.
I think they're going to be.
When you talk about the way he normally shoots and finishes,
he'll be fine. He'll be healthy, and he's improved a lot. You saw this, Max, in this past playoff. Like, one thing that people didn't factor in when they looked at how well Miami's young players improved and all the other young guys, the Jamal Murray, one thing that people forgot, those guys had another offseason, right? When Klay was suspended, they had literally a 4-month. That was an off season for those guys to go get better. That's why young guys took such a step, and everybody was amazed and marveled. That's just the natural progression of the guys who are serious about their craft and getting better. And so we look at it similarly.
Greg, Orlando could use a difference maker. That's really, they have nice pieces, but they could use a difference maker. I'm hoping Cole can be that for them.
We all are.
What about, of course, what about Klay's injury that was reported today? It's a torn Achilles. Dude, when I heard about that, I mean, ACLs are some beast to come back from. Everyone's like, oh, when Klay comes back, I'm like, oh, that's tough to come back from. But at least it's not an Achilles, and now it is. That's just devastating. What do you think when you hear that
I was
news?
crushed. Knowing Klay, knowing his father, being a huge fan of him as a player and a person, and being in love with this game, I was just devastated to hear that news yesterday. And I knew it was serious just from conversations I had with people. You just have to feel for him. You have to feel for that team as well. And I heard you talking about them. Listen, they're not going to have a chance to compete for a championship without Klay Thompson. There's no way to sugarcoat that. Right. But I will tell you, the kid that they drafted, I felt he was the best player on the board. And I thought by a wide margin. Like, he's a much better player than people realize. His ability to play in space and he's a 7'1" freakish athlete. I mean, he's going to have a chance. He's not the shooter yet, but Anthony Davis didn't shoot it like he shoots it now when he first came in.
Good point. If he's Anthony Davis,
he's going to have
90 or 80% of Anthony Davis.
He's going to have a chance, man. He's bigger. He's more athletic. And I would say he's also a little more raw. But again, he didn't even get a full year of college. But he's also had the last 9 months to improve and get better physically, and he's a wonderful kid. He's going to be special. Now, the problem, though, is there isn't anybody who's going to be good enough coming basically after 1 year of college to come in and be a transformational player. But in the next couple years, that guy's going to have a chance to have a tremendous impact at this level as he learns it.
Well, if that's the case, then they made the right pick.
It wasn't even close.
If that's the case, then they made the right pick.
It wasn't even close. I don't listen, and I know from good source, his people did not want him going to Minnesota, and they discouraged them from taking him because they got Karl Anthony Towns there. That kid has got a chance to be super special. I'm telling you, like that. He's the one
that'd be great
that has as high a ceiling as anybody, especially any big. So he's going to be fine. They're going to be happy with him, but they're not going to be able to compete for a championship this year without Klay Thompson. And that's no knock on their roster. They still, with Klay, they would have been in the conversation. But listen, it'd be no different if the Lakers lost Anthony Davis or LeBron. They were not going to be a championship caliber team without both of those guys, right? So that's just unfortunate. But I am anxious to see what that roster is going to look like. And you see all of the moves being made right now by all these teams, man. I think it's going to make for a really interesting start to the season here in just under 3 weeks.
Greg Anthony, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you jumping on with me, Greg, Turner Sports NBA analyst. Anthony Edwards, James Edwards. James Edwards? What are you talking about? Wiseman. Someone wrote Anthony Edwards, James Edwards, LaMelo Ball went 1, 2, 3 last night. James Edwards.
Obviously, you didn't keep watching the draft.
James Edwards might be a basketball player.
You didn't watch. They had another
somewhere.
round that they didn't televise, and his brother got
Oh, that was round 3.
Yeah, they went old school.
Round 3, James Edwards, right? Of course. Anthony Edwards, James. Look, Edwards, Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball went 1, 2, 3 last night in the NBA draft as teams were making moves. Raj.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Got a battle of MVP candidates tonight on Thursday Night Football. Who would I pick right now? Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. You know, now with Google and stuff, you don't have to wonder what they're saying on that chorus. Relax. And yet I've looked it up 1,000 times. I still don't know what they're saying. I don't know. I keep looking it up, and as soon as I read it, I forget it. But for years, it was one of the great mysteries.
Mario Ruiz is somewhere kicking himself because he told me 10 times, and Max, I can't remember either.
I can't relax yourself. I don't know. But for years, I'm trying to fix Electric Relaxation. It's one of their later hits, but might be their best song. It's up there. I can't figure out what they're saying. I'm going to Google it right now, Raj. I'm going to Google Electric Relaxation.
Why don't you keep reading, and then we'll get back to that.
Relaxation. Hold on. No, I'm going to do it right now. I'm not going to keep doing a damn thing until I figure this out. Okay. What? Relax yourself. Ready for this? I'll tell you in a second. Klay Thompson is out for the season in case you missed it, Raj. I'm going to get into more on that later. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Can you play that chorus again? I just want to, so people can hear it, and then I'm going to tell you what he's saying. Play the Electric Relaxation chorus. Okay, the chorus. Yeah, this is the instrumental. Now let's get to the chorus. All right. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance.
Yeah, I don't think they have the chorus. We just sing it ourselves because they had the instrumental every time, but you just sing it, because you know it so well.
Well, it's Relax Yourself, Girl. We got a good one tonight on Thursday Night Football, Raj. MVP candidates Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray go head-to-head on Thursday Night Football. And Stephen A. and I, were we arguing about this today? We were talking about on First Take, like, who'd you rather have as your franchise quarterback? Well, first of all, let's start with MVP. Russell Wilson's been better than Kyler Murray so far this year. Not by a lot, but by a little. And Russell Wilson's slide recently happens. He doesn't have a defense. He's asked to win shootouts every single week, and his running backs have been hurt. So, what is he supposed to do? So he loses to the Bills. He's lost to some good teams recently. You have to have something to work with. They've given him nothing. Chris Carson's kind of key, wouldn't you say? If you're the Seahawks, if you're Seattle, wouldn't you think that it's that if your quarterback's asked to carry the load every single week, that maybe he needs a running game? There's no great mystery about this. Who'd they lose to? They lose to the Rams, excellent defense, right? And not a bad offense either. They lost to the Bills. They barely lost to Arizona. That was by one play on the road in overtime. No, Russell Wilson's still in the MVP, talk, in the debate. He's in the conversation is what I'm trying to say. And so is Kyler Murray. He's inching himself there, but Russell Wilson's still over Kyler Murray. But Stephen A. and I were arguing, who'd you rather have as your franchise quarterback? There's so many similarities between these two guys, Raj. They're the same height. Russell Wilson's bigger and stronger at this point, but by the time Kyler Murray is Russell Wilson's age, he'll, probably Russell Wilson got him by 5 or 10 pounds, something like that. By the time, he's got his man bones, Kyler Murray will get there. They both played baseball in college. They were both drafted. By the way, I want to say the A's drafted Kyler Murray. That's Billy Beane. And I want to say Kyler Murray was a top 10 draft pick. That's no joke. If the Oakland A's draft you in the top 10, they ain't trying to miss, right? They got the analytics and the whole thing, and they are not trying to miss with a top 10 pick. You know what that tells me? Kyler Murray could have not just played baseball, but been very good at it. And Russell Wilson maybe to a second baseman. Kyler Murray was ninth overall, I'm being told. Russell Wilson was a second baseman. Kyler Murray an outfielder. But so many similarities. Both fast. Both can read defenses and throw. Both use their legs to not just pick up first downs, but extend plays, keep their eyes down the field. Russell Wilson's just a little better at that stuff than Kyler Murray because he's much more experienced. But Kyler Murray's kind of on his heels, and he's a second-year player. He's way ahead of Russell Wilson's pace. Russell Wilson entered the league, as Tom Brady did, a lower-round draft pick, being asked to game manage and be big on third down and let a defense carry him, right? And then he evolved to where he is now. Kyler Murray got to the league. The first overall pick started as a rookie, and in his second year, starting to approach MVP caliber. And by the way, the Arizona defense ain't bad, but it ain't the Seattle, it ain't the Legion of Boom. Right? So Kyler Murray's way ahead of Russell Wilson's pace, and he's almost 10 years younger. Andre in Massachusetts, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
How you doing, Max? Thanks for taking my call. I want to chime in quickly on the Klay Thompson injury. It is devastating at the outset, but for me, we have a precedent of a player coming back from such injuries and returning to All-Star and Hall of Fame form. And, of course, that's Grant Hill and what he endured after leaving Detroit. Listen, Grant Hill missed basically the better part of 4 seasons in the prime of his career because of that ankle injury that was misdiagnosed and, that tough that tough attitude that you had at that particular point in time. And I think Klay Thompson is cut from a similar cloth, and that he can get back on his feet. It's going to take.
You know what's so sad about that, though? I hear what you're saying, but it's so sad that as an example that makes you that you look toward for optimism and hope about Klay, you're using Grant Hill. Grant Hill, the real story of his career is he would have been one of the all-time greats if not for injury, And to have to use him as an example that makes you feel hopeful about Klay. Now, Klay's already maybe had a Hall of Fame career, something close to it, because he's played on championship teams. He was a key contributor to those teams. He was a great 3-and-D 2 guard. He had size, For a 3-and-D type player, he could get to spots on the floor that maybe some other guys couldn't. He could put the ball on the floor if you needed him to. And he's not just 3-and-D, kind of damns him with faint praise. He is Steph is the greatest shooter of all time. Klay Thompson was the hottest shooter of all time. One of the all-time great shooters, period. But no one was capable of getting as hot as him. It's not like he could get as hot as anyone. No. Klay could get hotter than anyone who ever lived. 37 points in a quarter. He had 2 quarters in the same season where if you add the points scored in those 2 quarters were 63. He had a 37 and a 26 in the same season. And you could put him on the other team's best perimeter scorer. Oh, it's a shame. Up next, a bunch of 6-3 teams in the NFL, but who are the real threats? Special edition of No Doubt is next. The Max Kellerman Show, presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive's Home Quote Explorer is changing the way you buy home insurance. Now you can go online, get a custom quote, and save both time and money. It's relax yourself, girl. Learn more at Progressive.com. I'm going to come back and give you the answer to that electric relaxation lyric tomorrow. But I'll know what the chorus is again. And I'm teasing you all show long. And while sure many of you could look it up yourselves, actually, a lot of you are in the car right now. How are you going to look it up? How dare you? There are going to be accidents all over the country, Raj, as people are looking up the lyrics to the chorus of electric relaxation. You know how I would do it if I were in the car, Raj? I would say, driver, please.
Right. That's funny.
Hand me your cell phone.
Man, you.
The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Going to get right down to it.
We got you covered.
Let me tell you what I think of this.
No doubt.
All right, Max, we're going to be quick with this. No Doubt special edition on a Thursday. I'm going to name you a 6-3 team, and you just tell me, are they a Super Bowl contender or not? Not a playoff contender, but all right, here we go. Let's see if we can do it. 6-3 Cardinals, who we'll see in action tonight.
No doubt.
No doubt. You have to consider them a contender because I'll tell you why. Their defense is just good enough, and when you have Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins on the same team, all they got to do is keep it within a score. If they get the ball within a score, they have like a 50-50 shot. So because of that wild card, I'm going to say yes.
All right, next one. The 6-3 Rams.
No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to say they're contenders because they got a defense that can really get pressure. They got guys who can cover. They have a quarterback who, given the right circumstances, can be above average. And they got a whole slew of receivers, to the point where you don't really – who's the lead receiver on that team?
Cooper Kupp.
Do we know that Cooper Kupp's better than Robert
For that
Woods?
team,
I don't know. They're all like – they're all
you're
good.
right. He can spread it anywhere. If you take away Cooper, he goes to Woods.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes it less predictable in a way. And I have to say they're contenders.
All right,
yes.
next team, the 6-3 Raiders.
Nah, son. I don't see it. I know they have a win against the Chiefs. Could you imagine if they have 2 wins against Kansas City? What if Kansas City only has 2 losses and both times to the Raiders, right? But this used to be the Giants or the Eagles. Like in a year they were good, the other one would beat them twice. It's a divisional thing.
All right.
I don't see it. I don't believe in Derek Carr. I think he's okay. I think he can be good, but he hasn't shown me consistently that he can do it. And until I see it, I don't believe it.
I had to look this up, but the Browns are 6-3.
Yeah.
So 6-3 Browns.
Me, do I think the Browns? Nah, son. There should be another option. You must be out of your mind, right? Yeah, no. No, the Browns are not Super Bowl contenders. Whenever they got waxed week 1 against their divisional rivals, the Ravens. Then it's like, they're coming on. Maybe the Steelers beat their brains out. Look, the reason divisional games are interesting to me, it's one thing to lose in a tough game, right? But when you get curb stomped in that kind of game, that tells me you're not ready for prime time. The Browns are not ready for prime time, and Baker's not good enough.
All right, the 6-3 Titans. That's an interesting one.
No
doubt. I think you have to consider them contenders. I wouldn't put them high on my contender list. And mainly, I guess what it comes down to, as much as I say I believe in Tannehill, maybe he's not quite dynamic enough compared to some of the other guys. But I like the Titans. They're good. I would put them in the second tier.
All right, and we got down the 6-3 Dolphins.
No doubt.
No doubt. You know what it is? The Dolphins' defenses look special to me at times. And because of that, when you have a defense like that and you have a quarterback who can manage the game, and then we know he has the talent to step up. We've seen it. I think they have to be considered contenders. Outside
All
contenders.
right, real quick, the 6-3 Colts, my friend.
Nah, son. Phillip Rivers is cooked. I don't believe in him. The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, ESPN app, and Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Woj bomb, and it's the worst kind. Going to get to that in a second. You hear this? Tribe Called Quest? Electric relaxation? Relax yourself, girl. I never knew what they were saying. And then through the years, I found out like 10 times, and I've always forgotten. And then I had to look it up again just now, today. And I saw it again. I'll forget it again by tomorrow. But play that again. Play that again. I want you to play it again before I get to Klay Thompson, because it's such bad news. I want to have some fun. Okay. Now, no shame in my game. I'll tell you what it sounds like to me, okay? Okay, I thought, you know how like it's embarrassing to say, like, what are they saying? And it doesn't even make sense what you're saying, and you can kind of say it to yourself. You don't even want to tell your friend or your brother. It sounds like relax yourself, girl, preset clear.
Really?
That's what it sounds like to me. So then I thought like
I
maybe
just thought it was piece that plan, which didn't make sense, but piece that plan.
Piece that what? I like how you laugh at me when I say preset clear. Oh, that's ridiculous. It says piece that plan.
Plan.
No, it's a plan.
Like
piece that plan. Okay. Yeah, piece that plan. Or then I thought that please step through here. Like I play it again. Listen, try and listen to what they say before I get to this Woj bomb. What's he saying? Wait till I tell you what he's really saying. So here's the Woj bomb. And it's so bad, I don't even want to tell you. I don't like being the bearer of bad news, because then you associate the bad news with me. I'd rather send a messenger who will be reviled, who will be hated. The association with this person, when you think of this awful news you're about to hear, you will associate it with them.
Yes.
Raj Grobes. What's the Woj bomb?
Well, like Max said, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we talked about it. We feared it. The father, Michael Thompson, is a friend of the show, but unfortunately,
there he is, Raj Grobes.
Klay Thompson
on ESPN Plus.
Klay Thompson, unfortunately, is out for the season, according to a Woj bomb, with a torn Achilles, as we feared.
Oh, not an Achilles.
An Achilles, man.
An Achilles, Raj. Raj, why did you have to say Achilles?
I don't make it up.
Like when it was an ACL, everyone's like, well, when Klay gets back. Remember, because Klay and KD both go down, and KD, it's an Achilles. Oof. At least Klay, it's only an ACL, and I'm thinking, only an ACL? A lot of people never come back
Bubba
from
might
that
remember,
decision.
I think Greeny said it earlier, about from that draft class. Was it John Wall? Was it Boogie? And he as well? Did Greeny say something like that, Bubba?
Yeah, well, we're just trying to figure out why there's just so many people getting the Achilles injury and trying to figure out why it's happening to so many different people. I think that was Greeny's point.
Mm.
So this is Bubba, our new board op. Is that what I can call you, Bubba?
Yeah,
A board op?
Talent, board op, whatever.
Jack of all trades, yes.
Talent. You know, Bubba in Yiddish means grandmother. I had a Bubba.
This was my broadcast partner when we took you off the air together.
When it goes down, I step in.
Yeah, so him and I, it was a Bubba.
I got you. Boy, that must have been quite a show with the two of you. Listen, and Raj, my producer.
Tweets asking for more.
So anyway, Achilles is like, that's the worst. You got an ACL and then an Achilles. At least it's not an Achilles. No, it's also an Achilles. And given Klay's age and the amount of time it's going to take to come back from this, and the kind of success rates of coming back, it looks bad. I'm really, really hoping for the best for Klay. Michael Thompson, colleague of ours at ESPN, done a lot of radio with Michael. I even have him on my boxing show, Max on Boxing, because he's a knowledgeable boxing fan. Michael Thompson, former number 1 overall draft pick, Portland, a 20-12 guy, got traded to the Lakers to back up Kareem. You'd think a guy who went 20-12 for a season doesn't want to be a backup. He loved it. Got to win 2 championships. And I got another sneeze. Usually they come in bunches, Raj, but I don't know. Anyway, so, like I've been watching Klay since he's in college, rooting for him. Because, his dad is a colleague and a friend, and you want the best for him. Oof. This is rough news. And rough news for the Warriors, who really don't have the shooting to overcome this. They take Wiseman in the draft. Greg Anthony was on earlier in the show to talk about what a talent Wiseman is. Okay. I think of him as like DeAndre Jordan plus, which is a hell of a player. But Greg Anthony was saying, what about like AD? If he's anywhere between DeAndre Jordan and Anthony Davis, it's a hell of a player. And eventually it'll be really good for the Warriors. But right now, with a year of college, without the ability to yet shoot the ball on a team that desperately needs shooting. Steph's the greatest shooter of all time. Ray Allen with handles, right? Like with next-level handles. And he shoots from such a distance. But who else shoots at all on the team? Wiggins is a subpar three-point shooter. He'll take a bunch, but he doesn't hit him even at a league average rate. But Pascal's not a shooter. Wiseman's not a shooter. Draymond's not a shooter. Who's going to shoot the ball? Where are you going to get the three-point shooting from? Meantime, you see what Daryl Morey did in Philadelphia? He moved the Al Horford deal, gets back. He moves Al Horford and Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson's a nice player in his prime, can play some defense, shoot it maybe just well enough in a good year. Gets back Seth Curry and Danny Green. Do you think it's coincidence that Danny Green won championships in San Antonio as 20% of the starting 5 there? Then gets traded to Toronto for a year with Kawhi, won a championship in Toronto, and then got traded to the Lakers, won a championship with the Lakers. Like, I understand part of it's coincidence, it's good fortune, but a lot of it's that if you are looking for a complementary piece in a starting 5 or just a heavy rotations minutes guy, like at least 25 minutes, and you already have a primary ball handler, and you have another guy who's going to be a high-usage player, and what you're looking for is a guy who doesn't need to dribble. He's not going to create his own shot, but he's going to knock down a 3, and he's going to play real defense. That's Danny Green. He's really good that way. Now you put him with, the whole thing with Philadelphia. Do they have enough shooting last year? Josh Richardson and Al Horford, and they all kind of shoot okay for their position, but given the fact that Simmons doesn't shoot at all, and Embiid shoots it well enough for a big, but he ain't a three-point shooter. Would it be enough? And the answer was no, it wasn't enough. Now you got Seth Curry, one of the best shooters in the game, period. He stays shooting, 42, 43% from 3. And Danny Green, who is a reliable 3-and-D player at a championship level, as in he was a heavily used rotation piece on a team that just won the championship last year and on a different team that won the championship the year before. Let me hear that tribe one more time. I just want to see what that sounds like, Raj. I'm going to get some calls. Relax yourself, girl. Relax yourself, girl, please. When you look at the lyrics, it's not possible. They're just lying to you. I think Tribe was like, all right, they want to know ASCAP or whatever does it now. I don't know how the hell the music industry is organized nowadays. But back in my day, and they look at, they're like, what's the lyrics? And they said, wouldn't it be funny if we just told them something totally different? They sent in some nonsense. There's no way what they claim the lyrics are are the words that I'm hearing.
Let's ask friend of the show, Marcus Spears. Why don't we do that?
Marcus Spears, NFL analyst, joins me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Marcus, is Tribe Called Quest before your time?
Yeah, a bit, Max. They are. Familiar with them, but I'm not as old as you, dog. Yeah, they are.
No doubt. That's right. Now listen, I want you to listen to this lyric I'm going to even tell you the beginning. He says, "Relax yourself, girl, please." And then the rest I'm not going to tell you. Listen to this chorus. Okay. Tell me what you hear. Any ideas?
Relax yourself and let your mind go free.
You're just making stuff up. Relax yourself, girl, please. I thought it was preset clear. Raj thought it was piece that plan.
Yeah, I spent my.
You can't believe
my
what these
lyrics.
lyrics.
I didn't get it clearly, bro. I'm used
Gotcha.
to.
It's inscrutable. And by the way, I don't even believe what the lyrics really are. I'm going to reveal what they are in a little while. Hey, Marcus, Thursday night football. Marcus, in my day, because I'm the I'm the OG between you and me. Yeah. In my day, you had no idea what a lyric was. If they didn't print it on the CD cover, you just had to guess. There was no place to go and figure out what the lyrics were. There was no internet. You just Google it.
Well,
Kyler.
I'm the tail end of that era, Max. Now they play the damn song and the lyrics come. You can watch the lyrics as the song go on.
Oh, it's the best.
Like
on Apple Music, I do that all the time.
And like another point about music in your era and my era, the dudes were actually saying stuff, so it was not nursery rhymish. So it was harder to learn songs then.
Yeah, that's a good point, but I got to tell you something, Marcus. Let's not fall into that trap. There's plenty of good stuff, plenty of bad stuff in every era, but we only remember the good stuff from our era. There are guys saying stuff today, and there were guys talking nonsense back in the day, too.
Max,
do you really think it's gotten –
There's no doubt that it was a collection of people that was like, what is this rap? What is this? What are they saying? What are they doing? But I've been a part of both windows of lyricists and like what my kids listen to now. And I still, like, don't get me wrong, I listen to some songs as well. But a lot of music, if you being 100% honest, a lot of music sound the same now,
keep it 90,
bro.
You know that. I keep it 90. I told you.
A lot of it.
Give yourself some wiggle room. I don't keep it 90.
Like that's why in this day and age I gravitate.
Are we going to be the era, Marcus? Are we going to be the era we're going to take our kids aside and say, I don't know what you're listening to. In my day, sit down and listen to some cool G rap.
I'm not. But you can. My son is sitting here next to me. You can ask him. I've introduced him to Nas. I've introduced him to Jay. I've introduced him to Big. I've introduced him to Scarface. I introduced him to a lot of rappers of my era that were saying stuff. Like you could legit get a life lesson through an album. Like, and I get it. Like, Max,
you could still do that with some dudes today. Kendrick Lamar will tell you some stuff. Cole, a lot of dudes will.
J. Cole, like I'm gravitating to those kind of rappers. I like Kevin Gates. I grew up with Lil Boosie. I like all kind of rap. I like some of the new songs that they have now. But I'm more focused on dudes that's got a message. That's just the era I come from. Like I don't want to hear you've been smoking everything.
In my era, there was literally a song called The Message. It was literally Melly Mel yelling at you about the things he was seeing and how you should act. All right, Melly Mel, damn, calm down, man. I'm trying to listen to some music. Hey, Marcus, let me ask you about Kyler and Russell tonight. Okay? There's no good segue. I can't say, speaking of hip-hop, what about – no, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Kyler versus Russell, you know what occurs to me, and I'm sure to others, these guys are like, could you find a better comp in football history for those two? Like, who's Kyler Murray? Well, his closest comp, and it's really close, is Russell Wilson. They're the same height. They both played baseball in college. They both use their legs to escape pressure. They keep their eyes down the field. They throw the ball down the field. They can both pick up first downs with their legs. The difference is Kyler Murray's almost 10 years younger, and he's been asked to do more at an earlier age. But here they are matching up again. They had a real close one that Kyler won at home in overtime on a single play. What do you see for the rematch?
I think the rematch is going to be about Russell Wilson, Max. And it's because don't get me wrong, I respect Kyler Murray, love what he's doing. I was a critic and didn't know if it could work in this league. But I also had to come around, and that's one thing we don't like to do in this business. But I had to say, you know what? This is 100% different league than when I played or when I talked about it early in stages. I was used to the 6'5" pocket passer having success because that's the era of football that I grew up in. I was bred in. So with Kyler, it was all about, okay, can this offense work? Can you actually do this? Can you be a guy of short stature but also operate from the pocket and then use your athleticism? I knew he could run around. I knew he could evade tackles, but I didn't know if that could take you to a 10, 15-year career. I just didn't believe it. But in this new day and age in football where it's all about spacing, it's all about using the entire field, it's all about high-flying offense, throwing the ball so much more than usual, he can thrive in this. He can create new windows as opposed to just standing in the middle of the pocket. And I give Cliff Kingsbury a shout-out to the way he uses him. But with all of that being said, Max, Russ is a competitor out of his mind, bro. Think about where Russ came from. Third-round pick, was considered short like Kyler. There was no real there
had to do it before there was an example of someone doing it on that level. He was the example.
I was just about to say there was no real answer to if this guy could be successful. There was nothing to point to. You make a great point about comparisons, right? When we saw Andrew Luck, we was like, okay, this is a surefire can't miss. Because he was 6'5", big, strong arms,
6'5",
doing all of that. Trevor Lawrence, same situation, same thing. And some of that is still in play. We got the Joe Burrows of the world and the Justin Herberts, but we also got Russ. And what we know about Russ, which has been so uncharacteristic, is number one, the turnovers. That's just uncharacteristic. He doesn't turn the football over. That's not in his history. So it's something about.
But Marcus, you know what that is to me? To me, it's he doesn't have a running game. The guys are all hurt, right? Like his running backs aren't there. He doesn't have a defense. He doesn't have running backs.
That's where I'm going, bro. As much as we love to say that these quarterbacks can operate and don't give them much, you got to have that in the scheme of football. You have to have another alternative as opposed to saying, Russ, throw it 50 times, let's win. Because you know what the higher probability is, Max, in this league with so many pros? If you throw it 50 times every Sunday, you're going to turn the football over. That's just the reality of at least a couple. That's the reality.
Sometimes a dude's just going to make a play. Sometimes a dude with instincts just going to make a play if you throw it 50 times.
Or you're going to have a tip pass. Or all of these interceptions he's thrown hadn't been because they were inerrant passes. Now, the one that he threw against the Rams was the worst I've ever seen them throw. But with that being said, man, and on the other side of the ball, it is not humanly possible as a competitor being on the team, because I've been on the opposite side of this, where you don't think you need to compensate for what the other side of the ball is lacking. We had conversations on the sideline when I was in Dallas as a defense sometimes where we were like, hey, yo, we cannot allow these people to score touchdowns. We got to give every possession possible back to our offense because it's on us to win this game. You can't tell me, Russ.
Because them brothers is sorry.
Yeah, you can't tell me Russ not thinking that with how bad the defense is.
But, yeah, Marcus, this is why you got to love Russ. He's the only quarterback in the league asked to win a shootout every single week. Aaron Rodgers can do it. Mahomes is actually asked not to make it a shootout. They don't want a shootout. And they run with Hilaire because they have to play back because of all the weapons
100%.
and everything. So, okay, fine, hand it to the running back. But Russell Wilson, the game plan every week is here, Russ, take 100%. Us there. You don't have a defense. Now you don't have your – now, look, he still doesn't have Chris Carson for tonight, it looks like.
Which to me is a huge loss that nobody's talking about, but I'm going to talk about it today.
Right.
At 4 o'clock on NFL Live. I'm going to talk about that because people don't realize the physicality, the comfort level that Russ has with Chris Carson in the backfield. He allows you to have that strong run element that Marshawn Lynch had, that Carlos Hyde can do a little bit of that. But I think Carson and Russ's rapport.
Well, Hyde's been banged up,
too. He's banged up. That's what I'm saying, Max. So you have a key component. I'll give you an example, and then we can talk about something else if you want to. Why in the hell would the Kansas City Chiefs take Clyde Edwards-Helaire? It wasn't because they just wanted a nice football player. They wanted a run game. because you have to have it. As dynamic as Patrick Mahomes is, and we talk about all of the weapons on that team, football, the game of football, still comes down to physicality at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, if you show me a team that can't run, it's going to be a problem.
You can't win a Super Bowl.
Like either even like you want to get drilled down even deeper, and maybe I'm just stuck in kind of an old school mentality. But it's an offensive line to me, and you know what? On the other side, it's the defensive tackles. Because to me, it still comes down to, can you look, whatever you want to say about Nick Foles, he stepped up into a pocket, just missed his receiver
100%.
down the field, right? But he had a little pocket to step into. Whenever they gave him that, which is rare, he'll use it. Either you have a pocket or you don't. Defensive tackles, offensive line, that's where it starts. Either you got a pocket or you don't. Who's winning up front? The line of scrimmage. The Seattle went away from that when they traded for Jimmy Graham originally. It took them years to get that back up front. They're better than they used to be now, and now their running backs are down. But I'm with you, Marcus. I think that Russell Wilson is so competitive. It's not a logic thing for me. It's a feel thing. I think he's going to get revenge tonight. I don't see them losing 3 in a row. You know, I think Russell Wilson plays out of his mind and they win tonight, but it's just a hunch. Oh, Marcus Spears is gone already. You guys are just ruthless. You click him right off. Relax yourself, girl. Play it one more time. I'm going to get guesses on the there you go, on the calls. Relax yourself, girl. Please. Raj thinks it's piece that plan. I thought it was preset clear. I realized it wasn't. Years later. I've learned the lyrics 100 times. I've forgotten them 100 times. Smart speaker. See that? Relax yourself, girl. Not as Raj thinks, relax yourself, girl, piece that plan. That's just stupid. Not preset clear, which is what I thought the first time I heard it.
That's really
what is that
dumb.
supposed to mean? That's just dumb.
Stupid.
Embarrassing. Relax yourself. Go play it again. There you go. Now I'm going to reveal it finally. Raj, Tribe Called Quest lies and claims what they're saying is, relax, play it again, Bubba. I gotta hear it while I'm talking. There you go. Relax yourself, girl. Please settle down.
No. There's clearly not a D in that thing.
It's not possible. Please settle down. How can you say down in a way that sounds like ear?
That's not true. It can't be. It's
not possible. But that's what they claim. If you look at Apple lyrics, you Google the lyrics, relax yourself, girl, please settle down. Can we get someone from Tribe on the show to explain how the hell that's supposed to be?
We can
please
check
settle
out
down.
Q-Tip. I know he's a big sports fan. We'll have to, I'll check him out.
Tip had that good song. What was it called? I Wouldn't Trade. What was it called? I forgot the name of the song, but he was like doing a press conference how he's not going to, he wouldn't trade it. He wouldn't, right? Something like that.
About.
I wouldn't trade for something like that.
No idea.
You don't know what I'm talking about? Hey, Bubba, try and find that one. I can't say Bubba. I got to call you something else. Bubba's what I called my grandmother. It means grandmother in Yiddish. I can't do it. I got to call you something else. I'm sorry. All right, B. Yo, B.
There it is.
You gotta find me that Q-Tip song, the trade song. I forgot what it's called. I'll look it up. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Lamar and the Ravens face one of the few teams Lamar has lost to in his entire career. The Titans. 2 6-3 teams face off. Can Lamar avenge one of his few losses? Matter of fact, I want to say the Titans are the only team till he just lost to the Patriots, other than the Steelers with Roethlisberger, the 3 against the Chiefs, and the 2 in the playoffs. I think the Titans were the only loss of his career until just now against the Patriots. Had he lost? I think so. Titans are a really nice, well-rounded team. And I like Tannehill a lot. But when push comes to shove, I think Tannehill's a B+. I don't think he's an A. And I think Lamar Jackson is a flawed A-. Like, he's, for whatever problems he has, you're able to build an offense around Lamar Jackson that almost never loses. It's pretty good. Lamar Jackson on facing the Titans for the first time since last year's playoff game.
It's not a revenge game. You know, the game is over with. You know, it was last year. We just fell short. Can't do anything about it. You know, we just going into this game trying to be 7-3. That's all. We ain't looking into it like a revenge game.
No, I take it back, by the way. It's not. The Titans were one of the playoff losses. He had, but he was 25-1 before the Patriots game, except for the Roethlisberger Steelers loss, the 3 to the Chiefs, and the 2 in the playoffs. So there's another team he's lost to. No, the Titans were one of the 2 playoff losses. By the way, Lamar played much better against the Titans than he had the previous season. Who did he get shellacked by 2 years ago? Do you remember?
It was the
Raj?
Chargers, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And then the Chargers got to Foxborough, and Phillip Rivers looked like a deer in headlights. But he, even in that game, he started out of his depth. It was like, oh my God, this is awful. By the end of the game, he'd settled down and he was doing much better. And against Tennessee in the playoffs, he played better than he had the previous season against the Chargers. So he is taking steps, right? He's going in the right direction. And I anticipate, Raj, that he's going to win this game because, again, this is not the playoffs. The Titans are not a natural rival for this team. I don't think Lamar can't beat good teams. I think he can beat good teams. I think he can't beat the teams he has to beat. The Chiefs, the Steelers with Roethlisberger, the playoff opponent. And when I say he can't, I mean he hasn't so far. I don't mean that he's incapable of it. But I do see a little trend. I see a pattern so far. He's got to step up again. But look, he's beaten some very good teams in his career, including this season. The hell did the Ravens? The Colts? Colts are good. Last year they beat the Seahawks. He's beaten some good teams. Haven't had a chance to get to your calls today. Last take is going to be all you. And by all you, I mean I'll let you say a few words. It'll stir something in my head, and then I'll interrupt you and talk and talk and talk. Talk and talk and talk. You would think someone who does nothing but talk all day for a living would shut up eventually. Get sick of the sound of his own voice. But you have to understand the ego that people have in this business. And let me tell you about this. Applies to everybody in TV and radio and stuff. I'm sure it applies to film too. If you are in front of a camera, it's not an accident. You did it because for some reason you're a little defective. You need attention somehow more than other people, right? And then the business is divided into those of us who realize it and those of us who are oblivious to this. It's not like you, except for some extremely good-looking people, I guess, they just wind up in front of the camera because the universe is saying, look, man, we got to look at you. Raj is raising his hand. No, Raj. Most of us who wind up in front of the camera, it's because, or microphone, it's because, like, we have personalities that crave it. We need attention, whatever it is. For whatever reason, we need attention. So we like the sound of our own voices, especially in radio. And Raj, I fall squarely into that category. So when I tell everyone it's going to be last take and they're going to talk, I mean, it means I'll say so-and-so from, Chicago, you're on the air, and then they'll say 3 words, and then, hopefully I'll have